Welcome to We Table It, a space where conversations are dissected to inspire change.
No matter how tough it gets, don't give up. Your story is still unfolding. Time your greatest currency. Spend it on purpose, not just potential. There's power in your peace. Joy is not found, it's created, owned, and released from within. You were never meant to do this alone. Community is strength. Unity builds legacy. Even the longest path begins with a single step. Keep walking, even if no one's clapping yet. These are the moments that matter. Build a life that feels good, not just one that looks good. Wishing changes nothing. Action changes everything. Begin now. This is We Table It, where courage, connection, and clarity converge. Join the conversation.
Hello, everybody, and good afternoon from Kenya, and good morning, good evening, good day from other places all over the world. Thank you for tuning in to We Table It this afternoon, where we're having a bottomless chatter, meaning that we're going to talk about world issues as we see them and from our points of view on what's happening around the world today. And our aim is to dissect society and inspire change. So today you have all three of us hosts with you, and we're asking for you to share that we have gone live with your audiences. We're on Facebook, we're live on YouTube as well, and you can catch us on all the other social media platforms. And yes, so I'll just give one of my co-hosts, so Sarah, if you'd like to say something quick before we jump into the conversation. I know you could say something as well. Then we can kick off our conversation for today.
Oh, yes. It's a pleasure to be here again doing this with you ladies. And I want to say a pleasurable weekend to all our teaming viewers and followers from all around the world. Good to be with you, and I do hope you're ready to join us on this table today. Hi, everyone.
Mhm.
And then I think, Eno, how you doing today? What's going on with you?
All right. We seem to have a little bit of a lag. So, Eno, anytime you want to speak, just speak, and we will allow you to finish your thought or your sentence at any time. All right.
Okay, Valerie, I can hear you. Can you hear me now? Hi, everybody. You're welcome to our live today. It's a good afternoon from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm excited to be here with my co host today. And just like Valerie said, yes, we'll be talking about everything, all topics. There is no limit to what we'll discuss today. And we are looking forward to you joining us and having an exciting time today with us on this broadcast.
Great. Thank you, Eno. Thank you so much. And I think to kick off our topic today on what's happening around the world, I'll touch a little bit on what's happening in Kenya. And what's interesting about what I'm going to share is it'll almost feel like a conversation that we had exactly this time last year.
Yeah.
So I'm calling it protest season. We are going into active protest. protesting against things that the people of Kenya are seeing are being mismanaged, mishandled by our government, and really requesting accountability and change. And so we had this beginning last year where we talked about it being a revolution by the Gen Z. And over time, it's appeared to have gone quiet, but it really hadn't. It was a sleeping beast, and it's been awakened over the past few weeks following the death of a teacher here in Kenya who was killed while he was in police custody. For the purpose of the process still being in court and the like, I'll say allegedly. So he was allegedly killed while in police custody. And following his death, there has been an uproar where people say enough is enough when it comes to police brutality and extrajudicial killings. And it's also this time of year where we have our finance bill that guides what our finance plan or tax plan will be for the coming year. But I think more importantly is the carrion cry for change that happened last year at this time, where we went and protested in the streets demanding change from our government. We made a little bit of headway, but clearly not enough. So we're back demanding for change again. And we're seeing the same rage and the same fury that was there, still there. And unfortunately, in my opinion, the same response from our political class, where they really genuinely, there's no empathy, there is no care or relation. For them, it's business as usual, almost as though they will protest, they will stop, and will keep going. So I don't know what's happening in your countries. Are you also experiencing protest or aware of other protests that are happening around the world?
Well, why don't I? Well, Eno will give us more elaboration on current realities in Nigeria. But of course, I'm abreast with the news, so I can say that over the course of the past 1 week, there have been protests in the middle belt of Nigeria, um, in a state known as the Benue State, which is tagged and popularly known as the food basket of Nigeria. I think the name speaks for itself. They've experienced a form of, some people would like to call it ethnic cleansing. Some people would like to go further and say genocidal norms. But there's been a spate of killings there, and I would like to associate this with the farmers and herder clashes. And now may provide some bit of context to that. But just so you know, the killings went overboard with about 200 reported deaths, which is alarming on a single day. And there was, I don't know if this was a spillover, but there were some protests. Um, I would like to say pockets of it in another neighboring state. It's called the Plateau State. And I'm not exactly in tune with the origins of that, but there was a protest. And also in I would in currently I would say in a number of countries, chiefly in the Islamic Republic of Iran, I saw some news stating protests, and this was related to the current debacle, the current war, exchange of salvos going on between Israel and Iran. And the genesis of it was with a spate of killings and assassinations and exchange of firepower via missiles and drones and ballistics all around the place. And of course, this has led to protests for people who share some part of the divide. So yeah, I saw that in the news. Also, in the United States, there have been some few protests, chiefly in the city of California, in the state of California and the city of Los Angeles, where um, we have seen people go on the streets to challenge the deportation of illegal aliens uh, by the ICE, all right, the body tax we're doing so. And then there's been a lot of debate concerning that. So I would like to say the past 1 week has been laden with protest. And whichever part of the divide you tend to find yourself, you would agree that it shows that the world is evolving, um, sometimes treading dangerous paths, as you may know, but we're evolving. And I do hope that, with every challenge comes growth, with every problems comes development. And how we handle this growth, how we handle these challenges would tell a lot about if it's developmental growth or actually stunted or backward growth, if that exists at all in the dictionary. However, it is, yes, it's been a week of protest around the world. Eno, how about you? What other protests have you heard that we've not picked up? Or, just like I said, the ones that happened in Nigeria, that you may want to provide a bit of context to it.
Thanks, Osaro. Just before we began this broadcast, I was scrolling through the WhatsApp status and I saw something posted by my nephew, and it was a joke about uh, Iran commenting on the Lagos State University's students' comments over the war, and their reply to their comment is, "We have seen you, and we are coming. We are going to reply you." And there is this name of someone who's really afraid of what Iranians are going to be doing to them from the Lagos State University. Now, so yeah, this goes a long way to say that a lot of people are scared of how to react to whatever is going on. We're all careful online. We do not want to incite any sort of violence. We don't want the transferred aggression all the way from the Middle East to this part of the world. And that's for Iran and Israel. But like they say, charity begins at home. I would come back home to Nigeria, Benue State. You have started with that. I will still throw more light into what's causing our herdsmen and the farmers' violence. And like you rightly put, it's alleged by most people, we can read from their conversations on social media where they pin this to ethnic cleansing, because these killings is not something that's new. Over time, we've been having cases of herdsmen clashes with farmers, and they will be termed the Fulanis. The Fulanis are those from the northern parts of Nigeria, and they're coming into the middle belt and towards the south because of they want to take care of their herds, their cattle. And people would ask questions: why are they not comfortable? Because they have a very large landmass in the north. Why are they not comfortable doing their heads, whatever, nomadic occupation up there in the north? Why coming down to the middle belt and then to the south? It's just simple. There's climate change. A lot of environmental degradation is going on, and because of that, they do not have enough arable pasture for these cows to feed on. So yeah, that's the excuse they would have to move down to the middle belt. And these farmers are not having it because they will trample on their crops that makes them the food basket of the nation. Imagine you investing so much time and resources and growing your crops, and you have people grazing with their cattle, destroying everything. And because of that, there is communal clash with those who are, nomads just passing through and trying to settle in, and with those who really own the land. Yeah, not far away from Benue, we have the Jos Plateau states having the same situation. Now, it's not just headman clash, it's the fact that These same people or class of people allegedly are wanting to take over this community. So they come in with a lot of terror. The killings is what makes people, massively, I beg your pardon, permit me the use of the word, migrate from these areas to areas where they could settle peacefully. And the more they leave the areas, the more the set of people who are bringing terror on the community, take over this place. Now the question goes, what is the government doing to curb the excesses of these headers who are alleged to bring terror on both the farmers and the community who are hosting them in Benue State, in Plateau State, and other Middle Belton state. Now, I worry that the science is deafening if people do not really do something about this or cry out, because this situation they think it's not coming to them down the south. If we keep quiet and allow this to be the norm, definitely it's going to come down to the south where you think that you have your security or your peace. So yes, that's my own area of concern. Something needs to be done. It's not something that we can bat our eyelid, just throw our face away. Over 200 people dead in an instant because of communal clashes is something we really need. We're not having enough publicity on this. We are looking at Iran, looking at Israel, but in Nigeria, nobody's doing enough publicity on this and then helping us to see how we can control and curb the excesses of these herdsmen. Yeah, Valerie, we were talking about what's going on in Kenya. You just threw some light into that. It's sad as well to note that in Africa, we do not have freedom of expression, freedom of speech. We need to control everything that we say. We are being made to suffer for utterances we make that is rightfully our right to, complain. So there are a lot of things going on in Africa as this conversation unfolds. I'm sure you guys will come in and chip in. We look forward to having your comments on this conversation. Please do not hesitate to leave a comment. If you are interested in jumping into this conversation, you can as well let us know. We would find a way to add you on here and you can come in with your contributions. Valerie, have you seen what's going on in
Yeah.
Benue State in Nigeria? What are your thoughts?
I
I'm fine.
I'm listening to you and feeling a sense of such sadness with a mix of anger. And my sadness is 200 people is the impact is not 200 people, it's their families, it's the community, it's the country. These 200 people will impact thousands of people, and their loss will be so profound. So it's not something that we can look at and say, okay, this is, a group of people, they're over there and this is happening to them. Something needs to be done. So I feel a lot of sadness for all those people whose lives they've touched, how they will be affected by this, and how they will feel they have to respond as well. But then I feel anger for the authorities. And it really has me thinking. What is happening in Africa has me thinking about what I was taught in school in terms of who is the government and what are they supposed to be doing, and the reality on the ground that we're seeing with our governments today. And whether there was a definition change somewhere and I missed the memo, because what I believe the government is supposed to do is stand and represent the people, be there so that life becomes better for the people, work for the betterment, for the best for the people. But it seems within governments, what we're seeing today is they're operating like an organization that has nothing to do with the people. We are literally by the ways, unless it's time for voting, then suddenly we become people who are important. But my feel is that governments are starting to ignore the people, and they want to work for individuals, and normally very few. You can imagine, I'm not sure the population of Nigeria now. I'm imagining it's over 200 million. In Kenya, we have a population of 50 to 52 million. But I know our government cannot be up to 10,000 in terms of senior government officials. But can you imagine all of us held ransom by this tiny less than 1% of human beings. That's what angers me. I'm like, oh, we've lost the plot somewhere. And I want to ask Osara a question, but maybe Osara, if you can comment on what Eno has shared, then I can ask you a question.
Absolutely. I was itching to give a comment to what Anna
Mm,
said. And I was going to ask her a question, take up her upon her description. And I do remember you making use of the word clashes. You said communal clashes led to the death of 200 people in the recent killing in Benue. So let's look at this. So was it a clash between one community, which is the farmers on the one hand, and the herders on the other hand, making the other community that led to a death of 200 people on both sides? Just for clarification. So if we call this a clash, then the 200 deaths were reported on both sides. Am I correct, Eno?
All right, so it's not like it's reported on both sides. I use the word communal clashes because it's evidence that they have, I mean, the aggressors allegedly, they have a spokesperson that is posting a disclaimer that we are not responsible for the death of this set of persons. It means that whoever is being accused of the killings, they have formed a community in their host society. Yeah. So yeah, it's actually a problem between two classes of people or two communities of people, where one is wanting to herd their cows, and the other is saying no, not on our land because you are going to disturb our farming process. So that's been the major issues on the surface, but allegedly people say it's actually deeper than that. That is a sort of ethnic cleansing. We'll look into that as we go on.
All right, thank you so much for that clarification. So, and I did watch one of the traditional rulers of the Benue people, who are the farmers, making a statement about everybody's welcome to that community, and but it's not open doors for you to come and graze on our farmlands because that's what we profit from and feed. And when you do that, you become unwelcome. And because there have been cases of that previously, and the herders were chased out or their cattle were killed as a result of farmers who were angry that there was blatant disregard for their livelihood, and the cows, the cattle, the animals grazing on their food crops. Then it looks like this is a reprisal. And the reprisal is in no way a match for whatever must have happened before. And this is a call out there for anybody. If you're currently in any of these communities, in any of the divide, if you're part of the herders or the farmers, or you are related in any way to this scenario, this situation, can you let us know? And we'd like to bring you on air and have you give us a better, more informed explanation to this, because I know there's a lot of dimension, there's a lot of, one or two nuances that we haven't touched on that would help us to better understand the situation. But we're just speaking based on the information we hear in the news, which sometimes had its own limitations. So if you're there, you have better information on this, we'd like to bring you on board. Let us know, and we'll send you a link to join us on this live session. And then you can better explain to us what exactly is happening. We'd appreciate that. And I'm pretty sure our team of viewers will appreciate that too. So, from my own end, I would like us to, table this matter. Let us get to the bottom of this. Losing 200 lives in a single day is abysmal. I'm not just talking, I mean, you can imagine losing animals, and then these are humans. And then when you get to the news, it's like business as usual. It's sad. It's These people are loved by many other people directly. They are caring for their kids. They have loved ones that look up to them, and then their lives are taken away. And the sad part of it is that It's the innocents that mostly suffer. They do not expect what's coming from them, and then it comes. And then people take gratification that as far as killing were done, then scores are settled. It's never in any way, shape, or form the right thing to do, most especially when those involved have almost nothing,
Mm,
literally nothing, related to what has happened. It's sad, really sad. It breaks my heart to read things like this. And
mm,
then, just like you said, Valerie, for the politicians, it's like business as usual. It's all about votes. It's all about the people. It's all about being out there to show that we're working without actually working. Yeah. So allegedly, things have been said to be business as usual, and then life continues. It's sad, but
it
hey,
really
that's it.
is. And gosh, Osaro, I need to ask you a question.
All
And
right.
I'm like, let me ask before it slips from my mind. So, of course, entering this season of protests in Kenya, it's been interesting to watch people. We're giving each other advice on how to stay alive and how to protest safely. You know, but in the States, apart from, of course, we saw the ICE protests of Los Angeles, we saw clips here in the news. But what we didn't see and what I tried to follow on the internet was this No King's Day protest, where, according to the news that I had access to, it said there were between 4 to 6 million Americans in protest around the entire country on I think it was the 15th of June, which was supposed to be the military parade for President Trump's birthday. That's how the news reached us. So it might be accurate or not, but that's sort of the news we were consuming. And while I was really watching the No King's Day protest news to see how the police would react and understand whether our police aggression and reaction is a uniquely African approach and problem, and how other countries are able to hold a mass protest peacefully, but still voice what they want to say with a lot of passion. So maybe you can let us know a little bit about that protest. Was it really that huge? Yeah, what was happening?
All right. Yeah, Valerie. So, yeah, the No Kings protest. Um, it did take place in some places by virtue of what I read over the media and online. I saw that there were some protests in Vermont, and that was reputed as being, I think, the largest they've seen in that state. I know there were some protests in I think in Minneapolis, and then Oklahoma. I read about that, and in New York. I didn't see any in Los Angeles, and I was there at that time. But what I did see were some. I saw a convoy of Marine personnel on the street. I don't
Mm,
know what they were there for. Um, Perhaps a deployment, but well, people were, I would say, expressing their opinions regarding freedom of speech. And you know what I've come to know over time is that there is a thin line between freedom of speech and no freedom at all. And where am I coming from? If you allow just a tiny bit of your freedom to be taken
mm,
and you relax, you can be sure that that will transform to the norm. You can be sure that more of this freedom will be taken because oppressors like to see you give them the chance to do that. Now, when you
mm,
don't give them the chance to do that, well, they may want to use force, but in a careful way. And that's why I do believe that over time, although many people would want to argue this, but protest does help to remind those in power that power actually lies in the people and that the power in
mm,
the people is more than the power in the office. It is a form of reminder, and it has worked. It does put in check. It does remind people that, hey, listen to our voices. You make the decisions, but listen to our voices and then make informed decisions. So about the No Kings protest, I would say I didn't see much of it physically, but of course in the news it was there, and social media I saw a lot of it, but I wouldn't say it was there was much of a significance in terms of life out there. I think it was just something that happened, and this is me speaking from my own perspective, and then life continues. Okay. About the aftermath, well, I can't really say because the day just went by, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Mm. Thanks, Osaro. Eno, I don't know whether you have any comment or whether you heard about that protest in Nigeria. Yeah.
Okay, there's been some protests in Nigeria, in Benue. Crying that I think it took a couple of days after the report of over 200 people being killed for the president to make a speech on that. Uh, we got, I think, I'm trying to remember the country president actually. So there was one country's president who made a remark on that. But our president had not said anything. So people were like, what's going on in this country? If it had been like what Valerie said, when it's time for campaign and they want people to vote for them, they'll be all over the place, like we are seeing now. And that leads me to another topic we'll be talking about not long after now, about the fact that Osaro, we are prepping for the 2027 election, and we are seeing a lot of funny things happening where most party people are moving from their party to the party that belongs to to the ruling party now. That's about making the country a one-party government. It's something that's outrageous, by my opinion, and I know a lot of people are talking about it. Why is it that people are decamping from their parties to another party, to the ruling party? So this is something we'll touch on before we close.
Right.
Before we close the topic of the Benue uh, headers and farmers clash, I just wanted to talk on something that I did not chip in that really broke my heart. I saw a post on Facebook where someone tagged a lady whose family happened to be victims of that uh, killing. The lady's four siblings and her mother were killed during the clash. The whole of her family wiped off. That was too much. I couldn't even read through because I don't even want to relate to that. Like I said, a lot of people are keeping quiet because it's not close at home. But the truth still remains that it can happen to any community. Let's not get too comfortable. Let's not keep quiet. The silence is really deafening. We need to do something. The government needs to do something. They need to set up, security apparatus in the forest reserves, wherever these criminals are hanging out. Because if the herdsmen, I beg your pardon, if the Fulani herdsmen community are not owning up to these killings, there must be some bandits or some criminals hiding somewhere within the confines of the host community. So I don't think the government is doing much or doing enough to comb every of these areas to rid these communities of people who are causing this terror, bringing terror upon the community. Yeah, we need to do a lot more so that people can live safely. Yeah, without much ado, Doctor, what do you think about this decamping situation from one party to the host party? I can speak for my state, Delta State. It was something that when I
That was an
noticed
embarrassing one.
that our state is no longer PDP, but have switched to APC. Yeah. What is going on? This is just an interesting conversation, and I would love people to. I really want to read from people. Let me see if we have comments. What's going on
I
in your
I
state? Are you an APC state? If you are in Nigeria, please let us know. This is for Nigerian audience now.
I remember sometime
Go ahead, Doctor.
last year, yeah, sometime last year we had a special guest on this program. His name is Mr. Magnus Oraka, and the discussion was, I really wish he was here because he, with a lot of passion, he discussed and he did mention a few of the things we are raising now. So the campaign, I think it's shameful, it's embarrassing that
Mm,
things like this will be happening. And I'm coming from a very objective and serious minded point of view. Um, yes, we live in a society that is meant to be free. So you can make your decisions and make your choices, and that's fine. But we need to make responsible choices. And I would say that politicians decamping from one party to another at the speed at this which is going back home in Nigeria, it's appalling. And I'm saying this because we're slowly, gravitating towards a one party state. How can you function? How can you innovate? How can you develop when you think just from one party? It's appalling. And it goes to show that people
mhm,
are in it for what they can get. Yes, there's this saying that goes that um how is it put now? There comes a point in the life of a man to take a stand. However popular it may be, you must take a stand. Now, you see these politicians, many of them want to take a stand, but with the popular party. All because I want to keep remaining in power. I need to go towards the party that is the ruling party so that I can remain in power and can remain relevant, irrespective of the values in which the party stands for and have shown over the years. It's not fair and it's not good. Now, when we have a balance in our polity, with a number of parties out there, with politicians trying to, outdo one another in terms of the values that they profess in the parties, it it actually makes our society better. It's a positive competition. But when you have a one party state in a multi religious, multi ethnic country like Nigeria, who haven't proven to show or to advance something that works for them, just like we have in China. China has a system that works for it and they do well with it. But we have a borrowed system and we want to borrow a system without following through with how the system works in the places they've worked. We want to borrow a system and then say we're running the system, but however, we have diluted it in such a way that it doesn't work as much as it should. The decamps from the opposition party to the ruling party because of an election that will take place in 2 years' time is appalling, to say the least. And it breaks my heart that we've seen ourselves currently being part of this mess. I like to call it a mess, okay? Yeah, but to many, it's like life goes on. Life goes on. It's sad. That's it. It's really sad. And I will want to say, I think there's going to be more drama as time unfolds. And where I may see drama may be in the sense that some of these campaigns are actually sort of like Greek kids, Trojan horses. You never know, trying to get into another party to destabilize it and then, come back to where they originally were. It has happened before. So it might be part of what is happening. However, it is, time will tell. So we're getting to an interesting season back home in Nigeria. And as usual, we table it, we're on top of the situation, and we'll be discussing this as time unfolds. You know, One your state, Delta State.
Gosh.
Oh my goodness. My state is, in fact, I don't understand what's going on. I'm just watching alongside millions of
Right?
others, like what is
Okay.
really going on. You know, having
Mm,
different parties come up with their policies and, like you say, the values. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, it's what's actually very beautiful about a campaign and then an election. You get to look at,
Yeah.
you read each party's manifesto, I mean their candidates' manifesto, and see, I maybe check their, antecedents, see how they have, served the government, and then decide which one, aligns with what we need in our dispensation. However, as it is now, it's not interesting because it's more like an autocratic party system. No,
Yeah.
we just have to take whatever they want to give to us. Yeah, we are watching. I'm watching alongside million other Nigerians. We're going to see how it unfolds. Just keeping our fingers crossed until 2027. And the campaign has started. I mean, not so earnestly, but we see signs of it in Lagos. Go towards the airport area. You see that the old campaign banners have been taken off and new ones are erected. The same candidates. Yeah, we are hoping to see what is going to unfold. We are waiting to see if we're going to get another savior, allegedly, like the last Labour Party candidate, Peter. Whether he's coming back, we don't know. Whether someone else is coming in, we don't know. I don't know whether you guys want me to come out too for president, whether you guys are going to vote for me, whichever, we would know when the time comes. So yeah, Nigeria for now. Okay, let's go over to Iran and Israel for goodness sake.
oh,
I don't know
just
what is
one
going
moment,
on.
and
We are just seeing
some
missiles, seeing different kind of, all right.
yes, sorry, just a comment on what you said, Osaro, because there was a point I was here looking for a reaction
Convert.
button like a Zoom call, where I wanted to do clapping hands or you know.
Yeah.
When you said we are we are trying to adopt and work with a broken system, it's not even a borrowed system, sorry, a system that's not ours. And I,
Yeah.
please say it for the people at the back of the room.
Yeah,
um, and because in my mind, I'm thinking the systems we're working with in African countries are those that we got when we got independence from
Yeah.
colonial rule, and that was in the 60s. And we're trying to make a system that was developed in the 60s for problems of the 60s and make that work somehow in here we are almost 100 years later, or 60 years later, let's say. We're trying to now use that system with small modifications as if those modifications are going to fit our current problems. And as people, we have evolved in education, we have evolved in behavior, we have traveled, we have brought, taken knowledge out and brought it back. We are not the same people that we were 60 years ago. So why are we behaving like the same system that we had 60 years ago is going to work with the people that we are now? And I think that's why there's so much discomfort because we have old leaders. These are people, if I look at maybe when our president was born, he was born around the time we were getting independence. So he grew up in a very old system. And I know Nigeria's president is a senior. I'll just say he's senior. Maybe he was alive before the independence. But you see, we're living their childhood dreams and we're not them. And I'm when you mentioned a board system, I'm like, yes, can we sit down as Africans and create our own system that works for us, where we're not dependent on these countries that look like they're coming like saviors and they're just messing us up? I wonder what that would look like for Africa, because I feel it would be like Wakanda, the state of technology and everything working, but we're not giving it a chance as Africans. Yes. That's what I wanted to say.
That
Yeah, that's
reminds
true,
me,
but
Valerie. I think I saw a post somewhere.
Mm.
I beg your pardon, Dr. Sarah. All right,
go
so
ahead.
I saw a post somewhere where they were talking about the president of Burkina Faso. That there were death threats to his life, and allegedly, I don't know how true that is. And so, because of that, all the traditional, whatever religion practice people, all the people like native doctors or whatever, they had to come and give him a kind of confidence protective shield. I saw this video. Was it a video, a picture? I can't remember what it is, but we saw all these traditional doctors all coming together to say they are protecting their president. I don't know what you think about that. That struck me as while I actually appreciate the fact that this guy is doing something really good. You know what Valerie said reminded me of that. That we have to do something that works for us. We cannot continue to follow the dictates of people who have colonized us, because
Yeah.
the truth is said, we do not know if they have our best interest at heart. So yes, I like the strides that Burkina Faso is taking, and I'm glad to see that other countries are coming up. I think there is a revolution that is about to take place. We see in Niger, we see in Burkina Faso, and other countries are coming up. Very soon, we'll see about a lingua franca in the whole of Africa, or some, areas of Africa, so that we can let go the language that belongs to other people. French, English. We should have, like, that's my own opinion. I beg your pardon. My own opinion. We should have Africans speaking Zulu. I beg your pardon. What's that language you have in Kenya?
Swahili,
What do they call
that
it?
lovely
There's this very
language.
Swahili.
beautiful language you have that is very common
Swahili.
in Africa. Swahili, yeah, Swahili. Yeah, it should be like an official language in Africa. Swahili, we have
Yeah.
Swahili. We have Igbo. The Igbos are everywhere in this Africa, in this world, not just Africa. We have this country, this languages that we can own, and let them come over to Africa to learn our own language. So I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think it's something that we should explore as a continent? Yeah.
Yeah. This is good. Yeah. Yeah. I know you talked about a number of issues and you were just spot on. Yeah. Good. Passionate. And I like that. And you know what? Well, I like to start with the first one. That is about religious leaders coming together to, allegedly pray for protection of the beloved president in Burkina Faso, which is good. It shows that the people have been able to identify a leader that is for them, and they are sticking out their necks to protect that leader. And then this goes to um, other leaders all around the world, Africa especially. Once you're there for the people, it's not easy. It's not hard to tell. Once you're a pro people person, it's not hard. And you can only be a pro people person when you touch their lives, not your life at the most. And I know that the complexities that are bound in our countries are much. It's not easy. We have to face that fact. It's not easy with a lot of divisions there. It's difficult. But at least try. Put the people first and not yourself first. You see some people getting into power, and the first thing they want to think about is how to propagate themselves, how to perpetuate themselves in power. It shouldn't be. So it's a good thing. That's an allegation, right? Like you put it, but if they did that, then it's a good thing that they've identified that this is our leader. We're proud of him, and we are there to support him because he's there for us. On the other hand, and this is unpopular, I have raised this before, and I know this may not be objective, it's subjective, but I don't like, um, and I really wish we could have someone from Burkina Faso come here to, if you're from Burkina Faso and you are watching us or you tend to get this, please, we would like you to come online and tell us what is really happening there. I'm very careful. Over time, I've learned to be very careful about people who make noise, who talk about what they are doing and not let what they're doing talk for themselves. I have seen I watch on social media, on YouTube, and a lot of things about Burkina Faso president. He's doing this, he's doing that. Um, is This is what he's doing. Many of them AI generated videos, many in English. I'm careful of things like that. You know, when people are not doing so much, they turn into the print media and spend their time on it. And I did a personal research to go over all these things and then find out. And I find out that most of these things are not coming from the Burkinabes themselves. They're coming from people outside Burkina Faso who genuinely want a change in the way things are done in Africa, and they see this as a model of change. But I really want to be sure that that is what is really happening and not in the minds. This is what we think is happening. And I've seen a couple of comments. I saw someone wrote and said, I just came from Burkina Faso and there's censorship. Nobody can talk freely. And there's almost nothing going on there. But everything is just on social media from people who are not in Burkina Faso. I'm very careful about things like that. It happened, in leading up to the 2020, is it 2015 election, there was a certain opposition candidate in Nigeria called, he was an ex-military leader, General Muhammad Buhari, who he was the leading opposition leader. He eventually won the election. And many of the things that he was purported to want to come and do was said by other people, not him. And I was careful, and I kept telling people, let him speak for himself. And then when he came and spent 8 years, you had a lot of people complain that he didn't do what he said he would do. But he didn't say many of those things. People spoke for him. The case with Burkina Faso is that I keep seeing people speak for this leader. And the videos that I watch over the internet are in English. And it's alleged that he doesn't even speak English. And you see a lot of people doing AI stuff here and there. But what is really happening in Burkina Faso? If I can get someone who is in that country to come and objectively tell us what is happening, I think we'll have a balanced view. And I know this is an unpopular opinion. I'm going to be roasted, right? But I do want us to go on ground and find out, is he really fashioning out the ideal leadership we want from Africa, or is it social media leadership? I'll give you an example. And this is taking us up to what Eno said. Brilliantly, she said it. We need a system of our own. And Valerie, you agreed. However, given current realities, Africa they came to Africa, balkanized the place, bastardized the place, divisions here and there. To walk back to what it originally was may be a tough one. But we can rise up from where we are, dust ourselves, continue in this path, but, with a renewed mindset. In China today, by the way, Mandarin is the most widely spoken language globally by virtue of the population in China. You see a lot of people wanting to speak English, they want to learn English, they want to open up themselves, and that is because they've spent time in incubation, fashioning out a system of themselves, which is, a lot of people may disagree, but it's working for them. And I did hear a spokesperson in China responding to a BBC interview, and when they were saying there's no freedom of speech in China, and the message said the freedom of speech they're actually looking for is responsible speech. If you give freedom of speech and people think they can make irresponsible comments widely, it therefore defeats the purpose of freedom of speech. It may work in some places, but not in every place. So I would say that for Africans to come together, to work together, to get something better for us, it has to be in our value system. It may not necessarily be in our religion or in our languages, because that's a tough task, that. It's going to be talked. Then we'll start another conversation on dominance and the likes. But if we agree that in our value system, we want to forge ahead with a common value system, then that may start to work for us. All
Gosh,
right. Yeah. So
Osiris,
that's my response on this.
thank you so much. I'll just share a quick comment and let Eno jump in. Because as you spoke, you reminded me of something, of when we started our platform. That was about 2 years ago. And at that time, the Kenyan president was looked as though, I will, my perception, and the perception of him was that he was a Pan Africanist and he's fighting for the continent as he goes round and speaks and talks about how we need to get out of debt. We need to have like an African currency. There's a lot of things that he said, which we were like, okay, we even had a protest in Kenya, or we would joke, if I can say, that we don't know where our president is. He's never here. He's just all over the world, talking to everybody except us about everything except our problems. And then he came back. Now, I think we missed the days he was everywhere else. But the thing is, you're right. You know, to the world, it looked like there was this man who was fighting for Africa out. Little did we know that we would end up in chaos after about a year. So you're right. It would be interesting to speak to someone from Burkina Faso and understand, okay, us what we are seeing is he came and bought a fleet of 500 tractors, and now farming has suddenly gone.
My God.
Okay. So yes, he bought 500 tractors and farming has increased, and he's opening tomato factories and keeping their gold. But as you say, there it's English news and they're a francophone country. So yeah, there's opportunity to actually find out the situation on ground. But yes. Okay, Eno, I'll come to you.
What a funny way to put this, Valerie. But it's the truth. It's the truth. And people have gotten away with
Dying
this.
here. We had a similar situation in Nigeria where we were
Mm.
looking for our president. He was all over the place.
Yeah, you don't know where he is. You just wait for the news to tell you today he's in
I'm
China,
trying to
tomorrow.
breathe. I'm trying to breathe now. Valerie, you killed me
Yeah.
with that talk now. Yeah, he's talking about every other country. I'm forgetting his own country. He's everywhere. Same thing we had in Nigeria. And everybody was like, what's going on with our president? You see, he was globetrotting, but you will not see him make any public. When there is any case, you don't see him come up to say, I'm speaking as the president of a country. You don't see him. He's everywhere. You see him everywhere. So I think that is something that is quite unique with our leaders in Africa. We just want to be seen like we are doing something, but no, there's nothing we are doing. Our situation is still the same. It's just, making the outer surface look very beautiful, but in the core, it's rotting. That's the situation we're having in Africa. Yeah, I think we need to do something about it. And to our lingua, yes, the lingua franca for Africa, I so support it. I wish that could be a reality where we would have our own language in Africa. And other countries, when they want to come, they would study our language in order to relate with us for whatever reasons. It could be business, it could be pleasure, whatever it is. They would study our language. This is my dream for Africa. Call me a Pan-Africanist. It's okay. But yes, I think we are overdue for that. We should have our language as Africans. Yeah.
Yes, you're correct. Absolutely correct. We need to do that. And where I was coming from was that if we want to place in order of priority and we've fixed our economic woes. We've been able to take charge of our resources and fashion out a way that works economically,
Mm,
where everybody's well fed, everybody has a
mhm,
job if they want a job. Then we can now move into the other stage of reuniting ourselves in terms of language. But a hungry man doesn't want to learn a
mm,
new language. You know, I see that the United States recently was talking about placing ban on some countries. A lot of the countries there were African countries. And why should you have a headache when a country says we don't want you to come to our country?
mm,
It is what we're in the same planet. So ordinarily, tell someone from Malaysia or Singapore or Turkey, I don't want you to come to my country. They say, okay, that's fine. I'll stay in my country. Why? Because they're comfortable in their country.
mm,
So it shouldn't even make you have a sleepless night.
mhm,
But when you have a sleepless night as a leader of a country whose name was there, it means there's a problem. And that problem
mm,
needs to be fixed. So if we get
yes.
ourselves right, take charge of our economy, our resources, and we're able to use it productively, I'm telling you, people would, when you talk about single language, when you talk, I mean, a well fed man, and that's the problem. If I were, and I've had these conversations before with people, if I were president today, I would communicate well with the people, very well, because communication is key, and tell them, hey, you may not have good roads.
Mm,
You may not have stable electricity because there's going to be a committee to do that. But one thing I want to assure you is that nobody's going to go to bed hungry. And I'll spend the next 4 years doing that. We've got a lot of graduates who studied agricultural. I think that should be the best courses to study, given the arable
mm,
lands we have. They're unemployed, and we have vast amount of arable lands. I
mm,
wouldn't bother about any other thing. Perhaps I'll have advice to do bother about other things or ministers, but I will think about making sure everybody is no more hungry. See, when people are, you see, when people are not hungry, they can listen to you, they can think, and they
mm,
can follow you very well. Feed the people. People want to eat. People really, and when I say people want to eat, I'm not saying people want to just bite something. People want to eat what they like to eat, the quantity, the amount they want to eat, and how they want to eat. And then we can start getting
mm,
things right. Okay. So for now, I do agree with you and 100%. I'm a Pan Africanist, a proud one to be that. And but we need to prioritize how we want to tackle our systems. All right.
mm,
Yeah. So I agree with you. Swahili, of course. I love Swahili. I want to learn it, and I did start
mm,
learning a few of it, and I want it to happen. That should be the number one language in Africa, but we need to get our priorities right. All right. Just
mm,
look at. I don't know if you saw this. There was a certain Nigerian who challenged the British on having to make foreigners, internationals, like international students, um, pass the English language test to be able to
mm,
study in the UK. And then this all started with a certain comment on the social media and saying, oh, these people coming to the UK, they try to fleece the system and they can't even speak good English. And then this Nigerian challenged this guy and say, hey, you think we can't speak good English? I challenge you to a
mm.
contest. We both write the English test. If you beat me in it, and this is your native language, I'll go back home to Nigeria. But if I beat you in it, then you shut up. That was a
Yes.
cool one. Testing someone on their native language. And then, of course, well, there was a lot of back and forth, and they did it, and the British refused to write to take the test in some certain areas. I think in reading and writing, if I'm not mistaken, and they did in speaking and one other point, and the British won actually. I don't know if the Nigeria went back to Nigeria, as he said earlier on, but of course he tried to make a point. And then, of course, you see, I was talking with a friend recently, and he says he gets approached by some people He lives in the United States, and they say, "Hey, why do you speak with that accent? You have an accent, and you speak English. I can't hear you well." And he reply them and say, "You also have an accent, and when you speak, I actually can't hear you well. So
Mm,
please leave me alone."
yes.
So yeah, that debate is a lot, and we need to forge a common unity for ourselves, but we need to prioritize this. All right, feed the continent, feed the people, get them actively involved in their own resources, and then we can begin to forge ahead in other areas, just like what Eno has spoken about. Yeah,
Yes.
Valerie.
I think as Africans, I look at Kenyans, and what my perception and my experience has been is really embracing other Africans. We are fascinated by what other people eat, their
Yeah,
cultures, what they do, experiencing them. And so we're generally very welcome. Where maybe we have some barriers to welcomeness is our surrounding countries, where if they have hardship or war, they might come in as
yeah,
refugees. Then there, yes, there's somewhere where we give them side eye. We're like, okay, not that we treat them badly, but we give them side eye. But for the most part, we are open to learning. Especially West African cultures, we're fascinated. Oh my goodness. So we try to learn. You should hear how many Kenyans pick up words in pidgin, and we try to
ah,
incorporate them in our sentences. And for after being around Nigerians for a long time, for me sometimes it sounds funny. I'm like, oh gosh, that where you put that word is not where it should be, but thank you for trying. So there's also that fascination of, okay, we're going to, pick it up and use it. So yeah, Africans, we are open to each other. And if we just need to be open to each other in so many ways, whether it is
yeah,
through work, and how it is that we work as a continent, and how it is that we live in each other's countries, how we travel between each other's countries so that we can experience each other. We can look at more of that, and I think there's no point waiting for somebody else. The we is us. It just starts with a group of us who decide, like Osara said, we've heard about this Burkina Faso place. Let's just go and see what's happening there.
yeah.
And out, and then, yeah, come back with a learning. And yeah, see how that goes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Absolutely. First of all, no borders. I mean, you have a lot of people already thinking that Africa is one country. So why don't we just feed into that thought? Literally, So yeah, we just need to
Mm,
start from somewhere. We need purposeful leadership to start that, and I hope we get that soon. By the way,
mm,
hi Janet. Thank you for joining us. And if you have something to contribute and you want to do it online, you can let us know. Just before we wrap up, perhaps you have one or two information we're missing from the discourse we've had. You can let us know, and it would be great to have you. Yes, Valerie, Eno. So,
mm,
what are we looking forward to this new week? In this new week,
mm. I'll share first. We shall be sharing any updates or information on the protests in Nairobi or in Kenya. I'm not sure
all
how
right,
widespread they will be. We'll share, and hopefully there will be a positive outcome. So we will look to share what's really happening on the ground, not for alarming, but just so people know what's happening. And
all
we
right.
we pray that it will be we'll just be successful in getting a message across. That's all people want to do. So yes, so watch our platforms for updates as well.
All right. That
And from
that
this
reminds
end,
me.
I'll be coming up with information.
Okay.
Sorry, doctor. So I was saying on this end, I'll be coming up with information on what's going on in Benue and how far the government have gone with securing the lives of people and property in Benue and other parts of the Middle Belt region of Nigeria. We'll come up with more of that. Please stay tuned. Follow our page if you're just seeing us for the first time. It's important you follow us, grow with us. Thank you, Janet, and everyone who has been watching. Do not forget to share this podcast. It means a lot to us. Thank you once again for joining.
Yeah, and we're going to be following closely. Thank you so much, Valerie and Enno. Closely, what is happening in the Middle East, and at some point we may not be able to run away from that conversation. So we're going to be looking out for two, three, or four panelists, experts in this discourse in this field, where we can bring them together and we'll have a good conversation on it. And by the way, just as a reminder, so uh, 2 days ago was Juneteenth, which is a holiday celebrated on June 19th to commemorate the emancipation of slaves in the United States of America, and it was first celebrated in Texas. And so
Juneteenth.
today, yeah, Juneteenth. Today is is a Saturday, and there is a celebration at Brooklyn Park, which is going to be happening in a few hours. And I'm thinking we may be able to get some live coverage, however short it may be. And if we do that, we'll be covering it live on our page. So you may also want to stay tuned um, and wait for that. That should be in about 4 hours from now. So you want to stay tuned and follow us on that, and perhaps you may be able to get one or two things from what's going to be happening. There is no, there was going to be a slated street parade uh, to commemorate this program, but that has been canceled because in the location, sometime last week, there was some shooting, and the authorities don't want some repeat of itself. So, but we'll see what we can do with the indoor event. All right. So you want to stay tuned on that. But from me and from here, it's been a pleasure having this discussion with you ladies and our teaming followers. And I can't wait for us to do this again. Okay, yeah. So for me, it's have a happy weekend and a blessed start to the coming new week. Valerie, you want to
Thanks.
close?
Yes, just thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend, and let's catch up next week. Remember to like, to share, to subscribe across all our platforms so you get the latest We Table It talks as they come out. So thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.